Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. As always, if you enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And our first story of the day is by I Am Lasher. Sure, I'll take everything. Some background, I used to work at a rent-to-own company that we call Rental Center. My state takes a dim view of rent-to-own. So to get around it, Rental Center offers a rental term, at the end of which your last few payments are converted to a loan. And when you pay it off, the rental is yours. When you start, you get a 90-day price, but if it isn't paid off on day 91, you're in it for the long haul. Basically 4 times the 90-day price. You could package items together to make your weekly bill cheaper. You could turn in anything you wanted, but to get it back, you had to start over. Our store bought items on credit, and as an item was paid on by a customer, the amount we owed was paid on. So we buy an item for $500, you rent it and pay 50 payments, maybe we owe $50 still. If you turn it in, we rent it to someone else at the full rental price, but still only owe the last 50. Anyway, one day a pain-in-the-butt customer, I'll call Karen, called to have us pick up a stove. We went, grabbed it, brought it back, no problem. A week later and I'm doing inventory. I find the stove and it isn't on my in-store inventory list. I look it up to see why, and it turns out this thing was in a package with 2 other items, and her account rep didn't check. Those other 2 items are still there. We had this dumb rule where if you turn something in, to be counted among inventory, it had to physically be brought back into the store. I realized this lady has 2 items that have to be brought back before I can reissue a contract for them. I know this is going to be annoying, so I look at the 2 items she still had. Turns out we only owe like $120 left for the 2 remaining items, so what I decide to do is offer her fridge, and window AC at $120, 90 days, same as cash, for the hassle of having to pick them up. This was going to save her a bunch of money in the long run, even if she couldn't pay it in 90 days. So I'd pick them up, bring them back, count them as inventory, write up the new contract, bring them back in an hour. She saves a metric freak ton, everybody wins. I'm usually great with customers, and I can usually calm them down when a problem comes up, so I call and tell Karen about the problem, let her know I need to pick them up. Before I can tell her the freaking deal she's about to get for the trouble, she starts cursing at me. "This is BS, you people are so incompetent." Lots of worse names and so on. This call ends up lasting 20 minutes with her freaking out the whole time. I keep trying to say hold on, let me explain, but Karen has skipped "may I speak to the manager" and gone full scorched earth. She says come get it all. I try again to defuse the situation and explain, but get called some vile crap for my trouble and again get told to come get it all. I look at the computer, smile and say okay, sure, cue malicious compliance. Karen didn't realize come get it would basically mean empty my trailer. She had a fridge and an AC along with the stove. She had a living room set, 2 TVs, 2 other window unit ACs, a bed, she even had lamps. This lady had been paying on this stuff for a long time, and some of these contracts are close to the final term. She was about to lose it all. I get in an empty truck with another employee and drive to her trailer, and her husband answers the door. Dude, I feel bad for her husband to this day. He was super nice. I tell him Karen's told us to come get everything, and he opens the door while apologizing to me for her behavior. She's not there. I try to talk to him about the deal, hoping he would calm it down, but he said it was just better to do what she wanted. So we load up all the big stuff as fast as we can. I'm about to grab one of the AC units when I hear her pull up. She comes storming up the driveway cursing us with one of her friends. I hear her get to the front door. Her husband's there. I hear her say to her husband, "You're as stupid as your mother." Her husband has apparently been conditioned to this and doesn't say anything. I decide I'm not carrying the window AC through the house with her acting like this, so I just lift the window and let it fall out. I'd go around outside and pick it up. The other employee walks out and she's cursing at him. He goes and sits in the truck. I come out and Karen goes nuclear. "This is such BS, why are you taking this stuff, blah blah blah," followed by some horrible names and a lot of cursing. I smile and say, "You told me to come get everything, twice." I walk right past her smiling. I grab the fallen AC unit while she's stammering, "You better bring all that back right now." She followed these statements with name calling and talking crap, talking about our families, anything and everything. If she had just stopped for a moment and spoke to me like a human, I would have put it back, but she didn't. I put the AC on the truck and say, "I'm sorry, I can't do that." Once it's on the truck, it has to go back to the store to inventory and check it for damage. But then I'd be glad to talk about putting it on a new contract. While I was finishing loading up the truck, this lady's calling me every vile thing she could think of, and my responses are like, uh-huh, and okay, all with a smile on my face like she's saying the sweetest things. The more I do this, the more red and angry she becomes. I wave and smile like we're old friends and say, have a nice day. I swear to you, I have never before or since seen someone's face turn purple with rage. She yells, freak you, and I say, okay, you too, like she just said she'd miss me, and drove off. That was the day I learned that nothing will piss a Karen off more than a sweet smile when they think you should be upset. When somebody's angry at you or purposely trying to get a rise out of you, do you think you're the kind of person that buys into it, or, as much as you hate to admit it, let it get to you and might let you flare up a little bit? Or do you think you're kind of like OP in this situation where you try and stay cool as a cucumber and let them continue to get more and more mad because of how cool you are? Let me know which of those you think you are in the comments down below. This next story is by Technos. If I told you, it wouldn't be hidden. In the early noughties, I took a contract job with one of my previous employers. They wanted someone that didn't have to train and that needed no supervision, and were willing to pay me the almost incredible amount I'd demanded to smooth my hurt feelings from the layoff. The job was easy. Age out 5 years of files to match their new retention scheme, at my convenience. The new people the company had acquired in my absence, however, didn't want to let it be easy. Every evening I'd return to my office to find it unlocked and rifled through. Boxes would have their security seals cut open, inventory lists would be missing, and entire stacks of files would mysteriously make their way back to the file room. You better bet I raised heck up the chain, but the request made on my behalf seemed to fall on deaf ears. One of the perps even had the nerve to email me, saying I was only a temp and that if I had a file she wanted, she would get it and there was nothing short of hiding them that would stop her. So that's what I did. In the back of the warehouse was a small room they'd once used to store coolant for mainframes, and I happen to know where a spare key was kept. All 4,100 files were vanished from my office, and the file room, and hidden away there. Crap hit the fan Monday morning when the perp who'd emailed me couldn't find an 11-year-old file she wanted. After letting herself into my office and finding it bare, she had the nerve to complain over email. Perp saying, I can't find file 90117 in the file room or in your office. I say that's because I took your fantastic suggestion and hid it, as well as every other file about to be aged out. They're not available. Please use the digital archive. The perp says, where did you hide it? I say, if I told you, it would no longer be hidden. Use the digital archive. The perp says, listen, you insubordinate little crap. I want that file, and I want it delivered to my desk now. I say, you can't always get what you want. Use the digital archive. Her final email, CC'd to her boss, called me a loser and suggested I get my unemployment forms filled out. Her boss had other ideas. Boss saying, please come see me. Obviously, my last instruction to stay out of other people's offices was insufficient. We will also need to have a discussion about how emailing a very expensive consultant with improper demands has probably cost the company more than we pay you in a week. From that point on, I made to show up just early enough to catch the perp on her way out the door and smile at her. I just don't know in what world anybody could email another person working at any kind of establishment or office setting like this and say all these overwhelmingly rude things and making such pointed demands when they're not in a position to do so, and then go and CC their boss into that and show them all that stuff and just expect to get away with it or expect good results for them? She was definitely investing way too much in her I work here, I'm an actual employee ego in this situation. Our next story is by Leo the Oreo. Family shares everything? If you say so. So this happened about a little after I turned 18 years old. One day, my mom and dad decided to take me with them to go grocery shopping. I really liked going shopping with them at that time because, much like now, my appetite was close to insatiable. And for me, that meant food, and more food. By the end of our run, I literally had an entire shopping cart of stuff, frozen pizzas, spicy noodles, lunch meat, bread, etc. Mostly spicy food because I love to have some bark with my bite. Fast forward a few days after. I had just come home from school and all I could think about was watching a movie and stuffing my face with pizza. But when I opened the freezer, I saw that out of the 3 pizzas I had, only one was left. I was pissed at this because I knew for a fact that I hadn't eaten them myself. About 2 hours later, my parents come home, and I asked them both if they had eaten my pizzas. My dad said no, he hadn't, but my mom, my sweet, entitled mom, didn't even try to deny it. I asked her why she didn't just ask me for one of the pizzas. I also added that had she asked, I would have just given her one of them. Her response? I don't have to ask you for anything. You're my son, and this is my house. I got angry and responded with, yeah, this is your house, but I paid for that with my own money that I made on my own. I paid for it. The least you could do is ask before you start going into my stuff. For the record, this happened a lot. We would all go food shopping, my mom would get the bare minimum and then help herself to whatever me or my dad bought. She didn't like what I said, and her response was, I don't care if you paid for it yourself. I didn't raise you to be selfish. We're family. And in this house, family shares everything. Cue malicious compliance. One thing I'd like to add is that my mom at the time had a massive sweet tooth. If it had lots of sugar or high fructose corn syrup, she just had to have it. One day when she had left for work, I went into the kitchen and came across her not-so-secret stash of assorted sugary sweets. M&M's, Skittles, Starbursts, the works. So I went into that bag and took every single pack of Skittles out, leaving just the other stuff. I gleefully ate the Skittle, and for the remainder of her absence, chilled out of my room and waited. When she got home, she sat down to watch TV for a while, and then she went for her bag of candy. And let me tell you, her reaction was almost as sweet as her secret stash. At first she had assumed that my dad had eaten the candy, but that was brushed off considering that my dad didn't like Skittles for some reason. Then she came to me and asked if I had eaten it. Much like her, I didn't deny it. She immediately started ripping into me, saying that I had no right to go into her stuff, and how she'd ground me for doing it. I simply shook my head. Then when she asked me why I went into her bag, I looked at her with an innocent smile and said, well, you said family shares everything, so I didn't think you'd mind if I ate some of your candy. There were a few seconds of silence, then without a word, my mom walked out of my room. My food stopped going missing after that. I kind of understand if OP buys food for themselves, especially with their own money, but it kind of strikes me as odd that OP's parents buy isolated groceries, it seems, as in OP clearly clarified that when they go shopping, their mom buys the bare minimum. Is it normal for married couples, to buy their own groceries? I just would have thought that everything would have been their groceries together, even if there's like specific interests. Or maybe I'm just really overthinking it, I don't know. And our final story of the day is by Overripe Mandrake, how my boss gave me an extra week of holiday. A few years back, I worked in a call center for a well-known car rental company. Management was what you would expect from such a place. Micromanagement was everywhere, breaks timed to the minute, you get the gist. Well, you'd be surprised to learn that holidays were no different. On a 60-plus person floor, if 2 people were out on holidays, yours wouldn't get approved. I'd been doing this job for a couple of years, so I knew that I had to keep track of my holiday balance, as HR was famous for messing up your days. Now that you know what I was dealing with, that particular year I had managed to get all my holidays approved up until Christmas. Imagine my surprise when my team leader came up to me and told me I had a week left on my balance. I asked her to check with HR because something was obviously wrong. The day after, I get an email from HR basically saying, "No, you wrong, HR right. By the way, you're on holiday next week." That's when I stopped and thought, why am I fighting this? I said okay, took my week off and waited for the phone call. And then it came. My team lead announced that the time off given by mistake was due. So I had to either give up a week of next year's balance or it would be deduced from my pay as unpaid time off. I laughed, said no chance, and laughed some more before hanging up. Then I sent an email to a solicitor that confirmed my suspicions of their claims being completely illegal. Next Monday, my team lead comes to me before I can even get to my desk and tells me about a meeting she scheduled with me and HR to settle things. Said okay, turned my computer on and forwarded my conversation with the solicitor to HR, my team lead, and our manager for good measure. Said email read something like, "Do you really want that week back that bad?" 5 minutes later, team lead comes back with a carnivorous grin and tells me to go to the manager's office. I get there and find out that my manager was never made aware of the issue. She gets her phone and calls the HR manager, basically tells him to sit on it, and then begins to apologize to me. We laugh it off, and I leave to start my day. As soon as I get back to my desk, I see my team lead heading towards the manager's office. She came back looking like a sad puppy. One of the rare times you can look HR in the eyes and say, "No, I don't think so," and end up walking out feeling like a champ. But with that being said, that's a wrap on another bunch of stories here today. As always, if you guys have any favorite videos of this bunch, let me know which one in the comments down below and why. And if you enjoyed the stories in general, if you could subscribe to this channel, it'd mean a lot to me. I make these videos daily, and it's by far and away the best way to support my channel. So no matter what you did, whether it was subscribing or liking, leaving a comment, I just appreciate the heck out of you guys. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with even more stories right here on the Storytime channel.